All right, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. Man, what a game. I guess we all need an off day today. Feels like it. Man, just what an unbelievable game. I didn't get into it, but just a crazy turn of events. When you look at the statistics and you're like, man, you hit a home run on your first at bat and your last at bat, you left 10 guys on base, 0 for 11 in scoring position. You just go on and on and on. The bullpen, the statistics for the game deserve their whole podcast. Like it just to go over what happened in that game yesterday would be it's just unbelievable. There's so many things that happen. But what I wanted to focus on today was the dynamics between Hyde and Elias, decision making, who's making these decisions. Because I guess the most fascinating thing to me when I look at the power dynamics of sports between the coach, general manager, and the owner, director of player personnel, whatever your title is somebody's got to make a decision. At the end of the day, one person makes a final decision. That's just the way it works. You can take everybody's opinion, you can have meetings, there's processes, there's all kinds of things, but the lineup has to be made. Guys have to get called up, guys have to get pinch hit for. So at the end of the day, one person makes that final decision. And there were some revealing quotes after the game from Hyde and then Elias. Rock Kabako did, I don't know if it was an interview with him from this morning or last night, but he put it out this morning. And Elias had some really interesting, revealing thoughts about roster. So I'm going to get into that. But let's start with Hyde. Let's start with yesterday. Let's start with James McCann bunting on. All right, let's go through it. First and third, one out. Santander's on third. They decided, all right, let's try the suicide squeeze. Let's bunt, see if McCann can get it down and Santander can get home. So first pitch is just wild because it's a pitch clock violation. So it's automatically 1-0. And then the pitcher proceeds to throw the ball up at McCann's face. McCann's still trying to get the bunt down. And there's one pitch that's at the bottom of his feet, but technically the bat comes around, so it's a strike. So let's just fast forward. It's a 1-2 count. And, if you bunt the ball on 2 strikes, foul, it's an automatic out. So at least for me, I've never seen this before. I've never seen with 2 strikes in a game that's competitive like this, where you're going to actually try to bunt, knowing that if you bunt a foul, it's an automatic out. Like you have to really trust your bunter. Really got to trust him. So McCann gets it down. This is one of the most amazing plays I think I've ever seen. So he gets the ball, he gets the bunt down, and Vlad, the first baseman, Vlad Guerrero for the Blue Jays, has to make what's an impossible decision, because either I let this ball go and if it goes foul and then I pick it up, great, 2 outs, perfect, exactly what we want. Or can I pick this ball up and gun it at home and get that out at home, which would be even better because now not only are there 2 outs, but I get the guy out at third. So he obviously, if you watch the game, makes a decision, throws the ball home. Now we got the replay. The replay feels like it takes for 3 hours. It's hard to complain because the angle and the dirt and the way everything was, it was hard to tell. But it really looked like he just missed the tag, just missed him. Santander got in there. And of course, that's not the call. So Adley hits the home run. We win the game. That's great. But I want to go back to the bunt. Let's go back to why in the world are you bunting with 2 strikes and whose decision is it? So let's pull up. What did, 1 second here. All right. So I'll just read this directly here. And this is what Hyde said after the game. Asked whether he was expressing his trust in McCann's bunting, Hyde said, I think that was his strategy. I had it on early and then took it off. And then Mac wanted to try to get that run scored. That is, I don't know if everybody this morning or this afternoon does Orioles content is going to harp on that, but let's just reiterate what he said. I put it on. So Hyde says, yeah, I want to go for the bunt. Time to put it on. Let's bunt. I think reasonable people can disagree there. If he hits a ground ball, it's a double play. All he needs is a fly ball, but he's a veteran. The infield's back. So I actually like the decision to bunt there. I don't mind it. I should say I don't mind it. It's situational. It's up for grabs. So Hyde puts it on, whatever. But now we got 2 strikes on, and he goes, I had it on early and then took it off. And then Mac wanted to try to get that run scored. So are you telling me he takes off, says, all right, we're not bunting anymore. I put it on early. I take it off. Whether I'm assuming that meant with 2 strikes, right? Because that's what reasonable people would be like, yeah, we don't want to bunt with 2 strikes there. And then McCann just bucks it, is like, fuck it, I want to do it anyway. And Hyde like says afterwards, like in a happy, jovial way, like, yeah, McCann just wanted to try to get that run in. I think that was his strategy. There's so much there. There's so many follow-ups that I wish they would have asked. The first follow-up is McCann in trouble? Like, is he allowed to do that? Is every player on the team allowed to do that? Because the answer has to be no. That has to be because McCann's veteran, been around forever. Because there's just no way that a manager, as a former coach, you can't just say, hey, this is what we're doing. And it's one of the most important decisions of the game. Like, hey, we're going to run this play. I want you to shoot a 3-pointer. And then my point guard's like, actually, never mind. I'm going in the low post. It's like, no, I didn't give you the freedom to make that kind of drastic difference in decision making. So McCann decides that he's just going to bunt it on his own. So I really wish, hopefully, somebody will ask him tomorrow before the game, does every player on the team have that freedom? And is that something you talk about? Wow, just an unbelievable insight into Hyde's like, all right, we got 2 strikes. Let's just try to get this fly ball. Maybe get a base hit, but just get the ball in the air. And McCann's like, no, fuck that. I'm bunting. And I'm just like, I could not believe that. So, yeah, I would love to get some more answers on that one. And then I guess the last point I want to make before I get to Elias's quotes, the pinch hitting for Arias for Stowers and then not pinch hitting for O'Hearn. All right. So I think, and then I don't know if there's a nice way to say this, but I don't think that Hyde is willing to change his mind about certain things. And it's starting to frustrate me because as a coach, as a leader, you got to be willing to make a change. And the thing that just doesn't make any sense there is Arias just sucks against lefties. That's just not a spot for him. It's not Arias' spot at all. And if you look at that and you're like, at some point, you have to let these guys hit in the big situations, whether it's O'Hearn against the lefty or Stowers against the lefty. Like I would have just kept Stowers in there and said, fuck it, let's just go lefty on lefty and see if he can get it done. But if you want to bring O'Hearn in because you think he's a better left-handed hitter than Stowers, obviously I get that. But you're like, well, O'Hearn doesn't do great against lefties, and then I'm going to run out of bench players. So just let Stowers hit. Just let him hit. Like Arias hasn't earned that spot. You're putting too much pressure on Arias. It's not his role. You're decreasing his value every time you put him in the like Arias's value is to play every position in the infield. He showed it. I think he played. I don't know if he's played first yet this year. Probably not. But he played first a handful of times last year. He's a Gold Glover at third base. I'm sure he could play short if he needed to. Obviously, he plays second base often. So Arias's value is you can put him in the lineup 2 or 3 times a week, wherever you want, bat him eighth or ninth, and he doesn't care. His value is not to be pinch hit for. And when you're so committed to this righty lefty stuff, it's just, yeah, I just think Hyde was overthinking it yesterday. And I try not to criticize him just because as a coach, I'm used to being criticized all the time. And I know that he's not stupid. So it's like, it's not that he's not thinking this through, but maybe it's just overthinking there. I know it's a big spot for Stowers, but that's what he needs. We got to figure out if he's the man or not. And same thing with Kjerstad. So let's go to Kjerstad. I talked about this a couple of days ago, and Elias really explained things. Here, let me just pull it up. Ooh, sorry about that. I wanted to have it right in front of me. All right, so Heston came up 17 plate appearances, 2 for 14. And obviously, I mean, I'm the biggest Heston fan. I had a lot of friends and a lot of people that are asking me, hey, why is he doing this? What's the deal? And I'm like, look, we want to win every single game. So at the end of the day, they're trying to figure out how to win every single game, not quite develop the prospects. That's mission number 2. It's close. It's 1B, but all right. So here's what it is. So it's just all right. Let me start from here. It's a little bit of a long quote, but I think it's worth me reading. So Elias says, in regards to Kerstead and generally speaking, he goes, I think we'll just have to take everything in totality of circumstances. But we do try to communicate to these guys that you're on the 40 man. You may get called up for service. It doesn't mean that we're going to give you a big, long, extended audition in that moment, in that time. It's just kind of the reality of the situation. In Heston's case, I told him, I always want to be clear talking about this. We don't feel like we've given him any kind of extended audition yet. That time is obviously coming. He's a big part of our future, and this could be any moment now where that happens. But to date, going back to September and now a little bit this spring, he just hasn't gotten his full, lengthy, patient run of playing time in the major leagues. Last part, and it's not because we don't want to do that. It's because we can't really figure out a way to do that without benching somebody on this team right now. And right now, the team's playing well and everybody's pretty healthy, knock on wood, and up and running. So sorry, that was a little bit of a long quote, but that's that. Sometimes when you have an opinion about something, and we all have opinions, whether you're doing a podcast or you're talking to your friends, you have an opinion. It's always important to get as much facts as possible so you can formulate your opinion, so you know what you're talking about. And once Elias explains it, it's not really, there's no more, well, I wonder why they're doing this, or I wonder why they're thinking about this, or they get try to trade Kerstead. No, Kerstead's not getting traded. There's a 0% chance he's getting traded. They put him up there, and it's like, hey, if he goes 6 for 9, 6 for 12, he gets off to a really hot start, then fine, we'll bench one of these other guys. But if not, then he gets a taste of what it's like to be in the major leagues. You're getting that experience, the travel, the hanging out with the guys, all those different things. And then we're just going to send you back down because we want to win every single game. And I'm not ready to put you ahead of Mullins or Santander. That's just the reality of it. But there was one more thing that he said yesterday that really made it. So when you talk about decision making and who's making these decisions, because let me take a step back here. When the lineup comes out every day before this quote, and maybe I missed something a couple years ago, but I always figured that the lineup was predominantly Elias driven, not Hyde driven. And then I figured in the middle of the game, pinch hits, bullpen, defensive substitutions, that's all Hyde. When it comes to roster decisions, I assumed it was collaborative, but predominantly Elias. That's what I figured. But then yesterday, or I guess this morning, reading Rock's article, this quote from Elias has changed my perspective on things. And I think it's really interesting to digest. So he goes, I think that the depth that we currently have on the position player side and the upper part of the organization, MLB and AAA, it's presenting a bit of a challenge for Brandon on a nightly basis with the lineup card. Okay. I feel like that was breaking news, and I wish there was a follow up there. So Hyde's making the lineup card every single night without Elias's input. And then I started to rethink that. I was like, well, why did I initially think Elias was making the lineup to begin with? I just figured Elias was hired, analytics. He's got control of the whole organization. I just figured he would want to have his lineup out there. But then now that I'm reading that, I'm like, well, first of all, that's not the case. Hyde is making the lineup. I'm like, well, why would Elias do that? Why concede the lineup to Hyde? And I think and I would love to ask Elias this, but it seems like Elias wants to keep the separation from himself in the clubhouse so he can evaluate all these players in a sober way. I mean, he's so smart, so analytical that there's no emotion. Very rarely do we get emotion out of him, whether you listen to him talk or you read his quotes. It's just extremely polished, very analytical, very thought out. And it just sounds like he doesn't want to get too close to making those decisions and let Hyde do what he thinks is best because he has a pulse of the team because he's inside the clubhouse. I'm not 1,000% sure. I'm now, a little bit guessing, trying to get inside of Elias's head. But wow, that to me was breaking news because if Hyde's making the lineup every night, then that explains, I guess maybe I want to say a disagreement, but maybe the struggle with Elias being more excited about these prospects, and whether it's Cowser, Kerstead, Stowers, Jackson, and it's like, I really want to get these guys up there. And Hyde is, I want to win every game. I don't really care about the prospects. I didn't draft these guys anyway. And right now, so and so is better than so and so. And so I'm just going to play them. So when Kerstad's up there and you're just like, well, can't they just play Kerstad? I'm thinking, why would Elias do that? Just put him in. Just, he's batting seventh, he's batting eighth, and that it just is what it is. But if you're going to give the full power of Hyde every day to say, hey, you decide what the lineup is. Well, if I'm Hyde, it's hard to blame him. It's like, yeah, I see the benefit of Kerstad being up here, but right this second, Kerstad versus Santander, Kerstad versus Mullins, Kerstad versus O'Hearn, I'm going to go with the other guy. And therefore, Kerstad just gets stuck. He doesn't get to play. Of course, he hits a home run. I think it was the first pitch last night. It's the first at bat, and he hits a home run. And I guess I feel part of me wanted to talk about this today because I feel validated about what I said a couple of days ago that they're not going to do anything for a couple of months. They really just want to let things play out. Hopefully, they keep winning. And if they win a game like they did yesterday and the momentum's high, there's no need to rush to make any decisions. The next big decision is obviously Grayson figuring out what to do with him because he's got to come back in the rotation. Do you go with a six-man rotation? I just read an article, a fascinating article about load management in baseball and how the load management from basketball is transitioning into baseball, where, and I guess older people and myself, I put that in that category. It's like, can't you just play every game? Like, what do you mean? Like, get back to you make all this money and all these other people have these strenuous jobs and whatever, blah, blah. We can have that conversation, but the reality is baseball is transitioning the way the NBA is. It's a long season. We want to, excuse me, we don't want pitchers to overthrow. So it's hard to do load management too much in baseball and give the guy a day off. But for pitching, that seems to be where all the trends are going towards, which is throw the ball as hard as you can when you're 12 years old, and then your arm's going to hurt 10 years later. So then we'll manage it. It's like it's completely ass backwards. Being around youth sports, not to go on too long of a tangent, but I beg parents, whether it's basketball, I was around a lot of lacrosse. We had a great lacrosse program at my high school. I would just beg parents anytime, stop signing your kids up for five different teams. AAU here. Well, I want to get them to college. I want people to notice them. No, it is, you'll burn them out. They'll resent it and they're not working on their bodies. They're not getting stronger. They're not weightlifting. They're not running. Now I'm going to sound like LeVar Ball here if I keep going, but it's true. You break down if you don't take care of your body. So the philosophy with baseball is you find a 12-year-old and you keep track of his spin rate, his velocity. You're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why would I even, now he's 13, 14. You just keeping track of this. And you're having him throw as hard as he possibly can. All and it just results in injuries. It's just that's what ends up happening because they have to throw the ball as hard as they possibly can. It's a unique, non-natural throwing motion as it is. And if you go back 30, 40 years ago, there was a conditioning that I believe prevented the injuries. So I'll shut up on this. I don't keep talking about it. But if you didn't throw the ball as hard as you could and just saved your arm just a little bit and pitched the way Means likes to pitch, and Greg Maddux is like the perfect example of that. You don't have to throw the ball 100 miles an hour every single time. So Grayson is a product of that. He is throwing that ball really hard, and then that changeup is deadly, but it's a lot of stress on the arm. So it wouldn't shock me if they don't rush him back. They want to throw a six-man rotation. My thoughts are, can I have Grayson for game 2 or 3 of a series here in about 3 months? Like if he doesn't pitch, it's okay to just rest him and give him some time because that's just the way baseball is transitioning. All right, I'm gonna get out of here, but yeah, I thought it was fascinating to see that it looks like Hyde's making all decisions on the lineup, and Elias is, yeah, he's a little stressed out, but not really. Like, I want to get these guys up here. I want them to get some at bats, but we're winning. And so we're just going to roll with it for the next couple of months and see what happens. Great win yesterday. A little frustrating, obviously. I went 2-3. Feels like the best 2-3 I've ever had in my life because I was staring at 0-5 until Adley hits the home run. But I also feel like 5-0 was completely in play. It just could not get any of those runs in, and McCann let me down. But all right, we got the off day, And yeah, I'll be back. Yeah, I'm going to do a podcast in the morning, talk about the Mariners because I actually really like the Mariners. I think it's a tough series. They're one of my favorite teams. They always play us well, especially here. So I'll spend a few minutes on them tomorrow. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day and see ya.